Hi, I'm Ranger Nicole, and I'm here at Lake Enna State Park. And I'm going to take you through this video out into the field with me today. I'm going to be taking a biological survey down at the stream. Now, what I'm looking for while I'm out there are what's called indicator species. Have you guys heard about that? Yeah, so an indicator species has a known level of tolerance for pollution levels. What does that mean? So, if I'm tolerant of something, then I'm okay when it's around. So, if a particular species has a low tolerance for a particular type of pollution, then if that pollution is there, that species won't be. So what I'm looking for are these teeny tiny little creatures that live in the stream that have a really big message for us. Come and join me down at the stream and we'll see what we can find.
I'm looking for a particular kind of creature here.
They're called benthic macroinvertebrates. That's some pretty big words. Let's break that down a little bit. Do you know what a vertebrate is? A vertebrate? Do you know what the bones that run up your back are called? Your spine, yeah. Or your backbone or spine is made up of individual vertebrae. So a vertebrate is an animal with a backbone. So what about an invertebrate? An invertebrate is an animal that does not have a backbone. Think about a butterfly. A butterfly is an invertebrate animal. So we're looking for animals that have no backbone. And what was that first word? Benthic. That's a word I don't hear very often. Benthic is a word that means on the bottom. So these are animals with no backbone that live on the bottom of the stream. And we've got one other part in there. What was it? Benthic macroinvertebrates. What does macro mean? I know what micro means. Micro is usually something that I might use a microscope to look at because they're super, super small. But what about a macro? Macro means that it's big enough that we can see it without the help of a microscope, without having to magnify anything. So, to go through all of those words again, benthic macroinvertebrate means that we're looking for animals on the bottom that are big enough to see without a microscope that don't have a backbone. So let's take a look here and see where we're going to find our benthic macroinvertebrates. We said on the bottom, right? And you see here where the water surface is very still and all of the things on the bottom are kind of covered up with this silt. That might be kind of suffocating and too close in for our benthic macroinvertebrates. But let's look over here. Over here, you see the difference? You can see the motion of the water, the ripples or riffles in the stream. And notice that here you can see the stones on the bottom of the stream. This is going to be a much better habitat for our benthic macroinvertebrates than over here. So let's get looking for them. So you can see I've got everything set up ready to capture some of my friends. I've got a couple of containers filled with water. And you want to make sure, if you're going to take this exploration from a stream near you, that the water that you put them into is the same water you took them out of. So this water came from the stream where I'm going to take the net that you see here, and we're going to go find some of the benthic macroinvertebrates that live here in our stream. So we found a nice riffle right here. To find our benthic macroinvertebrates, I'm going to take my net and I'm going to put the bottom of it gently on the bottom downstream of where I'm going to look for them. And I'm going to take my other hand, I'm going to pick up these rocks and I'm gonna rub the bottom of the rocks and let the water carry the silt and hopefully some benthic macroinvertebrates right into my net. Let's see if we found anything. A little bit more. I'm gonna rustle up some of these leaves, rub them in there too, anywhere that our little hidden friends might be hiding. Let's see if we see anything moving in here.
Take a close look. Can you see them? I see one here and here. And yeah, there's actually a bunch of them in here. Keep looking. They're really small, but still big enough to see without help. But if we were to use help, what do you think we would see? Sometimes it can be really helpful to get a closer look at what you're examining.
Now our friends live in the water, so as quickly as we can, we want to get them safely back in some water where we're going to be able to take a better look at them with our key. I'm using a spoon to make sure that I'm not going to hurt them while I'm moving them around. I'm going to take a really good look through everything that got into my net to make sure that I find everything that's living in here that I can find. Ooh, here's another one. Whenever a ranger or a teacher or a scientist, including citizen scientists like you, go out and collect biotic samples, that's living organisms, we aim to do no harm. And so we're really careful when we interact with the resource. So all of this stuff that's left behind, when I have pulled out all of the macroinvertebrates that I can find from in here, I want to put it back as close to where I found it as I can. So I'm going to take my net and dip it in here, turn it inside out, and make sure that as much as I can, everything that came out of the stream goes back into the stream. I think we've done a fairly good job of getting a cross-section of the biotic elements we're going to find here in our stream. Now, you remember I told you that these little hidden creatures had a message for us? That's right. Now, in order to find out what they're telling us, we got to figure out what we found. And to do that, I use what's called a dichotomous key. That's another big word, I know. But I like to think of it as a yes-no chart because it's helping us to distinguish between one kind of thing and another kind of thing. So let's take a look together at one of these and go over how we're going to use the dichotomous key to identify what it is. Let's take a look at this one. Let's take a look at our key to macroinvertebrate life in the river. Remember I called it a yes-no chart? The yes in the first one is whether our organism has a shell or not. Does he have a shell? No, he doesn't have a shell. What is our next choice? Legs or no legs? Does he have legs? Let's take a closer look. Yep, he does have legs. Now we're going to have to start looking a lot closer because our next choice is 10 or more legs, 4 pairs of legs, or 3 pairs of legs. What do you think? Let's take a look and count them. He has 3 pairs of legs.
What's our next question? No wings or wings? Does he have wings? No, he doesn't have wings. What's our next question? No obvious tails, one or two tails, or three tails? Let's take a look at him again. Does he have any tails? Yeah, he does, doesn't he? How many does he have? He has 3 tails. Let's look. We're down to mayfly larva or damselfly larva. We've narrowed down our options that far. We've only got 2 choices left. So let's take a look at what the differences are. Large legs with feathery gills or plate-like tails with no gills. Let's look at our sample again. What do you see there on his side that's moving? Those are his feathery gills. And he's got some pretty big legs. I think what we're looking at here is a mayfly larva.
Look at all the different kinds of creatures that we found here. Using your key, you're going to be able to tell what a lot of these are. Why did I say that these little creatures have such a big message for us? Well, unlike fish or frogs, benthic macroinvertebrates can't move around very much, so they're less able to escape the effects of sediment and pollution that make the water quality diminish. So, benthic macroinvertebrates can give us reliable information on the water quality in our streams. They have relatively long life cycles too, and that allows us to study them and determine any decline in environmental quality. There are a lot of scientists right now that believe that monitoring these benthic macroinvertebrates is actually the most sensitive tool that we have available for quickly and accurately detecting alterations in the quality of our water systems. That's really cool, right? We need to be aware, though, that pollution isn't the only thing that can make it so that there are less benthic macroinvertebrates when we go to take a sample. Factors such as the speed and depth of the water, the temperature of the water, including what season it is, and how recently the rain fell, can all affect the populations of the benthic macroinvertebrates. It's important for us to know the recent weather and the conditions outside when we go to take a biological survey, so we know what to make of the information that we've gathered. Have you been paying attention to the creatures while I've been talking? Some of them look a little bit like aliens that have been shrunk down and left underneath rocks in the stream. But there's at least one that's a little bit different. Have you noticed this guy, the salamander? He's different than the rest of them. What's different about the salamander? The salamander is a vertebrate species. And how about this one? Crayfish, or crawdads, are definitely invertebrates. And a frog? These are some other indicator species that we collected that are not benthic macroinvertebrates, but are still important indicators.
We want to make sure that all of our friends get home safely. Now, how am I going to do that? Am I just going to take this and dump it out from here? No, that wouldn't be a very good idea, would it? Because they're pretty small. I got confused by that macro thing. They're big enough that I can see them. They're still a lot smaller than me. If I dumped them out from this height, that would be like dropping me off a building. That wouldn't be very nice. So let's make sure we get them in safely. We're gonna come down really close to the water. We're gonna go ahead and put them right in the water and let the water flow them out. There you go.
thank you all for spending this time with me, checking out our benthic macroinvertebrates. These little hidden creatures living on the bottom of the stream really do have a big, important message for us.